Hello, I hope everyone is well. Apex Trades here. I've been away for a little week, been to Spain, had a nice little time with the family, had a nightmare in the airport. If you're from the UK, you'll know, and you were on holiday at that time, you'll know exactly what I mean. It was a pain in the ass, to be fair. But anyway, it's back to the grind. So, same old thing, like to just get a sense on where things are in relation to market structure. You know, you can clearly see, I mean, a lot of this can be noisy, and so our job is to try to distill it a little bit and just get a sense on what the general points are for market structure. You can see here, it's the highs and the lows, right? It's very easy to get lost in the world. Now, we're going to touch on this little section in a second, right? But clearly we're making, from this bottom, which would have been a lower low, then we make a higher low, slightly, just if we break that structure there. A lower high. Higher high. Higher low. Higher high. And now you'd probably argue, well, don't we make a lower low there? Well, strictly speaking and technically speaking, when it comes to market structure, it's not quite the same, because whenever we get a wick like this, it's more of a liquidity grab. And I guess it also depends upon what time frame you're looking at. Like, maybe if we were to dive into the 1 minute or the 5 minute chart, then technically speaking, yes, we would have printed a new lower, or a lower low from this previous high here. But because we're on the 4 hour time frame or the daily time frame or whatever time frame you're looking at, can't really consider it as a break of structure. And so we've still, for me at this moment in time, we classify this as bullish momentum, and we still classify this as a strong low until on the daily time frame we break and close below that, and then we can start to think about, you know, changing the dynamics from a strong low to a weak low, and so on and so forth, and whether that would be, you know, a new strong high. So that's the key terminology really. But as you can see, you know, just as a quick recap before we dive into the potential ideas for trading, we had to break a structure. This was the kind of cataclysm to the end of this downside move until we got to that low around that 15. What was that, 15,513? So that was the low printed way back in November 2022. And then we've been on a bit of a tear really each time since. And you know, what we want to do as analysts is just make sure we're getting a fundamental understanding. And you could see, yeah, well, would you classify this as a retracement? Strictly not really, because it's one leg. I mean, if we was to go to the weekly, you'd see that would be one, or monthly even, that would be one move. And so because of the retracement here, you know, it hasn't cleared the liquidity below there. So that move down there did not clear this liquidity. So this would have been the liquidity area. And so really the only time we want to be putting our market structure as a swing point is when we clear the previous liquidity. And so because we didn't clear that liquidity, it's really just one move to the upside. Of course, once we do clear that liquidity, which was there, we had 2 points that we could clear at that point, then we can mark that as a structural low. And so that would have been, you know, our swing range. Of course, we make a change of character. So the challenge here is again something that catches a lot of people out. It's like, well, is this your change of character here? I think this is a really important thing to understand. Or, you know, is this the change of character here? Or is this the change of character when we break there? Or is this the change of character when we break there? Well, the only real way to know the physical change of character is by understanding the swing points, right, in the market structure. So you'd have to say, well, you know, realistically, if we take the move down, from a swing perspective, I'll just go from here. So we make a lower low here, then we make a lower high, and then we make a lower low, then we make a lower high. So this is technically the swing range, right? So this whole area here is, let me take the magnitude off, is the swing range, right? And until this breaks, we don't really have an internal, we don't really have any other range. And so this is actually the swing high. And so this is the one that we have to respect before the change of character, right? Because this is just internal noise, right? So again, this is the change of character really that we're focusing on, but to the point that we want to create that link. So change of character comes in, obviously we get that break, and then we get the retracement back and a break of structure and so on and so forth. And what we want to do is always to understand the pullbacks, right? Whenever we're in a move to the, in a trending move, like you'd say that this was clearly an uptrend from that point forward, right? What we want to know is on each pullback, are we getting at least that kind of 50% retracement from a value perspective? And in pretty much all cases we do, right? Because our jobs as traders is there's that retracement there, is to understand the value side, right? Understand the point at which we want to get in on a trade, and know that, this is purely speaking more longer term, of course, more swing trades rather than intraday, although we can look at that as well. But just understanding the market dynamics from a macro perspective, you got to think about where, when this price was moving up here, and realistically from this point, even when we bring this down to that high point, it didn't retrace far enough. And so maybe when people were getting super bearish here and a lot of commitment coming into the order book, price obviously came back in, but eventually we do get that swing point, right, which is the peak, and then we get that 50% retracement, right, because there's that top of that peak, and then we come down to that 50% retracement. So you're always going to be looking for that. What about our next swing point? So the next swing point obviously came in here, and it's nice. This is a nice clear one. Again, we just hit that 50% retracement there, just went a little bit beyond it, which is fine. And then our next swing point, which was here, we hammered down into that retracement and created that nice wick there. But I think the challenge is sometimes when you see this is like, well, why isn't this now a new low? Why haven't we put a change of character into this point? It's a really good question, and I think a difficult one to answer. But if we speak technically rather than ambiguously, I think you've got to just suggest that, well, whatever time frame you're doing your analysis on is relative, right? So this right now we're doing on the daily time frame, and so on the daily time frame, from my perspective, we've just had a wick, right? So it's still in play until, of course, we close down, and so then we can start to move into that internal structure, right? So I've just denoted my swing points as orange, and obviously my internal structure, which I'm conceding is bullish, right? So I'm suggesting that it's still a bullish structure, but internally we're classifying this as the pullback. And so, anywhere where we've got like a supply area here, a demand area where you'd expect buyers to step in, clearly they did step in, but markets are markets, right? They're never going to make it easy for you. In fact, they're going to make it hard. Clearly this was a nice little washout that would have got everyone committed on, say, this supply zone here. Now we're on the daily, so there'll be myriads of additional supply zones here, but this typically would have been a supply zone, right? Sorry, a demand zone. Let me put my magnitude back on. That nice big daily order block there, right? Obviously got absolutely smashed through, went a bit further down, and clearly we sprang back up. So that would have typically got quite a few flushed out, and perhaps not a lot anticipated that move. Of course, it's going to happen, but we still have to be bullish, right? Number one, forgetting about the fact that we've got all this great news coming out about, Grayscale winning the lawsuit, the jolts. Wow, that was a huge. The jolts was massively undervalued from what they forecasted, and that in itself propel that. And then there's other news about X platform bringing out crypto payments and stuff like that. So there's plenty of reasons to be bullish. So where's our new swing range? So here's our swing range, right? This is where we're focused on specifically, right? So again, you know, understanding our value. So premium, right, is up here, and discount is down here. So we really only want to buy down here, and we really only want to sell up here. But we've always got to maintain some relative level of knowledge, right, of understanding of what's going on in the markets. Not just smart money concepts and stuff like that, but we need to understand things like for example, you know, your key daily levels and your key weekly levels. These are the levels that over a longer period of time, you know, we get a lot of respect. Okay, so the weekly level here, you know, you can clearly see we respect it a lot. We kind of rattle through this daily level here, but you know, on the retracement back down, it's kind of acting as a nice support zone. And so, you know, we've got some decent areas here that we want to focus on in a short while. But then we've got another key weekly level. So it's like my overall bias is bullish, specifically because we've came so low into this discounted zone. But just being mindful of the fact as well that we've really respected this weekly level here. And so I'm waiting more for a bit of a pullback to maintain my bullish stance. And again, I'm going to show you kind of what I'm looking for and stuff in a short while. We're going to also analyze this kind of move here, which I think was an important one to analyze. So we'll see that in a second. Okay, let me just take them off the chart. Okay, so yeah, again, similarly to our swing points, we're going to have internal structure, right, which is the lowest point before a reversal. Well, the lowest point to this leg down here, which was just one impulsive move down, small retracement, right? What are we looking for? We're looking for a claim of liquidity, right? Well, this was where the liquidity was. We claim that liquidity, and then we've come back down. Okay, so the swing range, or the internal swing range, which sounds weird when you say it, because actually the internal weak low and the internal strong high is, well, the weak low is outside of the actual external, which I find quite weird, to be fair, but it's true, and I can't really get away from the fact, because it's the low of the internal move, right? But even though it's wick, I'm still going to classify that as that internal range at this moment in time, until we close below the external here with a solid move. I mean, you might say, well, actually, wouldn't that be the internal weak low, because it's within this move? Possibly. I would like someone who's maybe more technically advanced than me to tell me if that would be the case, or whether even that would be the external swing low. I mean, my personal understanding would be no, because it's a liquidity grab, and again, it's referencing the time frame we're on. And so I'm just going to keep my range here for now. Let's see how we go with that. Okay, let's squeeze this into the TPO, right? So right now, we've got some ideas of what we want to do, right? What I'm looking for is, we've got a single print from yesterday, okay, on the TPO. And it's around this kind of 27,237. Now look, I'm using Binance for my TPO. But I'm actually, because I'm on a current funded traded challenge with 8 cap, I'm using 8 cap for my analysis on the candles, but I still want to use TPO to get a sense on where I am. So I'm just going to dive into the 30-minute really quickly, right? I want to get a sense on where I am in terms of the single print, which is from yesterday here, right? Which you can kind of think of in some sense as a fair value gap, but honestly, TPO is a completely different beast, and so it's something that we probably need to think about separately. But I would like price to come down to here, okay, and that would be, you know, make me quite happy. So for now, let's just see what we've got in and around these areas. So I've already actually took the liberty of mapping out the things that I want to have as levels of importance. Let me just bring them in. Okay, let's just take the weekly levels and daily levels out. Let's take that off. Let's expand this out here. Where's the expansion? So I've basically, by having two platforms like this, it allows me to have both the understanding of inefficiencies on a TPO perspective, but also, I think this was done on the 15 minute. Yeah, single print on the 15 minute, but also on, it's just a typical inefficiency, right? Where we get a move down from the order block that's, the fair value gap that's not being enclosed, and you get that inefficiency where, you know, the supply outweighs demand or demand outweighs supply, and, you know, there's an inefficiency in the market because it was a disproportionate and overwhelming amount of either supply or demand, which usually means orders don't get filled, right? And so market algorithms normally like to come back into those areas. So what I want to target is look at confluence, right? A number of ideas that coalesce. And so we understand now, at least both from a swing and an internal perspective, that markets are still bullish, right? From that major move down. What I'm wanting to see is where's the most favorable area that I want to get in on my my order. So obviously, thinking logically, right, we've got a single print here, which is TPO is all based upon time, right? It's not based upon volume. It's not based upon anything other than time. It's how long did price advertise at a specific area. And usually, you know, when you see a single print like this, which is this blue line here, that single print represents the price did not advertise an awful long time, and so, you know, it was a lot of really high moves. And so it's similar in the sense to a fair value gap, but it's based upon how long time spent in a specific area. Now you can see here, of course, there's a huge amount of single prints right the way down here. This is a very messy chart. This is a very messy, previous day was very messy, but I don't know. Of course, you can never be, you can never have 100% knowledge that price won't come back down here. But I think potentially, you know, it might come lowers here because, again, if it breaks, let me just go back to here a second. Go back into our wider picture on the 4 hourly. Yeah, theoretically we could come back down here to fill in these because you've got a lot of inefficiency here. But I think with the momentum now, you know, is the fact that we've already spent some time down here, we could range for a while as well. I mean, of course we've got to accept every possible scenario, but at least for now, you know, I think because we've created that range, which was previously here, and we're inside that, we've come down, took all of the liquidity and the value down here from that move. I just think we're heading back up. We had that huge move up. I think we're coming back down to fill in some of the inefficiencies, maybe some of those single prints before we head back up. And so again, just kind of using that as a way to think, well, where's logical places to come? Well, logic would tell me that, you know, from a TPO perspective, that we could come down into this inefficiency here, this single print, maybe come back down for these, you know, in a few months' time, whatever. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see whether price will come back down to these areas. Could do, of course, but I'm not anticipating that. Not yet, anyway. I think the move and the information yesterday was just super bullish, and so we should see. We shall see. We shall see. The only thing that would change my mind and get me super bearish is if we had a close below here on a significantly higher time frame, like a 4 hour or a daily or something like that. But until that happens, I can accept that we've come down to clear out the liquidity from the swing high back down to the swing low, cleared the liquidity, and now we're kind of coming back up. Now I've mapped out some inefficiency zones above us that I think would be really good targets, but it's difficult now because of the fact that I'm only thinking that price is heading up, that I wouldn't personally be looking for reversals here. You know, if anything, I think we'll probably break through them at some point, and you know, it will be immaterial. So I think this week high will go. So I'm really waiting for pullbacks. I'll be looking for, you know, an entry into this zone here, and then aiming for, of course, the week high, which is that 31,827. Actually, if that came in and I got that, I'd pass my funded challenge and then some. Currently doing not too bad. I'm using Lark funding at the moment for my traded challenge. I'm about not far from 2%. I've got to get 10% in total. So I've only been doing, I think I traded yesterday and today. So if you guys want to follow me on my journey, feel free to jump into the Discord server. Link should be in the description if you're watching this now, or if you're watching it in the future. Get yourself involved. Okay, so I think that should be about it, really. I'm just, as I say, I'm just watching where we are for now, seeing how things move, waiting to come into my zones. I may look at here if, again, a lot of this, by the way, what you don't do is just simply dive in at the specific level. You always want to use your higher time frames, like your 4 hour, to do your smart kind of analysis, and then, you know, map out your kind of inefficiencies, map out your order blocks and your demand and supply zones. But then, you know, without just putting in a limit order, you always want to just dive into something like you know, your lower time frames, so your 1 minute, your 5 minute, your 15 minute. Wait for that change of character. That's the key signal. Wait for the comeback, and then you dive in, right? So that's really what you're looking for. So just to recap, that single print here aligns with this single print here. It's also a fair value gap, which I'd anticipated that should be the case. Again, we get some choppy price action here, just waiting for it to come down into here, and then I'll be looking for a long. But again, I'm going to be waiting for that change of character, right? What do I mean by that? On a shorter time frame, I'm looking for, let me just expand this out. On a shorter time frame, I'm looking for something like this. So we're heading down, we're heading to that single print, break that move to the upside, so this change of character is right across there, and come back down into some sort of inefficiency before we head back up. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, right? That you know, we've had lower low, higher low, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then we get that change of character there, which is what we are looking for that inefficiency in the market, right? Then we're anticipating for price to come back in, okay, and then we get that breaker structure. But what we're looking for is a supply zone, or a demand zone rather, in this area here, right? So somewhere on this leg, when we break that down to the downside, we're looking for some sort of a supply zone on the shorter time frames to convince us that we are actually in the area of momentum. So something along that zone there would be anticipating that move to the upside. Okay, so that's it really. I'll come back on soon. See you guys later. Move is coming down now, so I will have my phone ready. Just let's see if we get to catch a move here, right? See if we can practice what we preach. Let's get the dual screen on so we can see what's going on. Coming into that single print zone. This is the current price here. Thought we might have just come down and snaggled an area there. Yeah, coming back down, let's see. So right now, I mean, look, choppy action, higher low, lower low. We haven't really, so that the range is between here and here. We haven't really broken out of that range yet. So this could be that area that we break out of. So the range is here and here. Technically it's here, we've just broken out of it there. Let's see what happens. Looking for this to come into that single print zone there. And then see how we react in this zone here. You can't see this, but I'm on MT5, ready to hit execute. Now look, if this blasts through the zone, that's not a problem. All I'm waiting for is that change of character to convince us. It might not be a trading opportunity, but what we are looking for is something that gives us that idea. So, okay, so now we've just broken through. So let's see what happens. Okay, now look, obviously we tagged that single print fair value gap to the absolute dollar accuracy. Obviously on this we've come down and created a bit of excess, so we can't dive in just yet. That's the problem. It's too risky to dive in yet. Let's go down to the 1 minute. Just creating some excess here. Okay. Just maintain stance at this moment in time. And we might be coming down to clean some of these single prints here. So right now, waiting to see if we create a change of character, right? That would have been the previous high there. So we need to clear that for our change of character. So right now we just maintain. This is our internal swing range. Now we are only on the 1 minute time frame, so we put less weight on the shorter time frames, but what we do want to see is some sort of a nice reaction from the bulls, and then we can start to think about getting long again, right? When we get that change of character. Let me just expand this out. Let's go to the 5 minute. Becomes a little bit clearer. It's a lovely liquidity grab that. Now if we make a change of character here, then all we're going to do is wait for another little retracement back in, and then you know it's cleared it effectively, hasn't it? It's cleared this single print here, which is great. But it looks like it's coming back down, so again that's why we just have to be patient. Was that small inefficiency there. I think it was on a 15-minute time frame. That's not the case though, so let's just see what we do. Obviously we have a lot more inefficiencies down here, right, from yesterday's TPO. All of this here, huge inefficiency, and that's the naked point of control there. For time, yeah, time point of control, not for volume. So let's see, still continuing. I might as well just stay live if anyone, if we want to see that. So. Right, let's go back to there. What's going on in the 1 minute? see where we are with. I'll change your character there. A lot of volatility at the moment. I'd like it to come back in to this zone. Okay, I'm gonna end this one here, but you can see that the situation, right? We've got loads of excess here now. Okay, we've cleared this inefficiency or this single print from yesterday. We may come back down here. I'm not gonna put any trades in as it stands right now. It's too risky. I need to see how we react. I need to see a change of character back to the upside to give me an indication of a potential reversal. This is a nice liquidity grab, even though it's only on the 1 minute. And so we're just going to monitor and see where we are for the time being, okay? All right, my friends, speak to you soon. Bye now.